And so this is really the only writing assignment that you have in this whole summer session, and it's just one paragraph. So don't, when you hear essay, don't, those who hate writing, don't freak out too much. It's a pretty prescriptive essay, and if you just follow the steps, you'll work your way through it. It's pretty easy. So our learning objectives, or you don't have to respond with green X's or red checks right now, but this is what you should be able to do by completing this project. So you can write a theme statement for a story I chose. I should be able to write a theme statement for a story I chose. For example, the theme of the story is that equality does not necessarily mean uniformity, and that would be a theme statement that would work with Harrison Bergeron if you read that one. You should be able to say that my theme statement is global, so it can be applied to other pieces of literature. It's not just specific to this one story. So it's kind of a statement about the world or people or society. Okay, the next set is I can connect at least two literary elements. So you're going to choose setting a character, or the other objective is the I can statements. I can tell how each of the two literary elements, the ones you chose up here, makes the theme more clear. Okay, so you're going to spend a little time on your essay doing that. And then you're going to need to pull stuff out of the story to prove where you got these ideas, these inferences. I can quote, paraphrase, or summarize portions of the literary work to support my observations and inferences. Okay, so we did an exercise 2 weeks ago using Night, excerpts from Night, and we talked about inferences, and we're gonna do a really quick review. But if you missed that Class Connect, you really need to go watch that video today, because you're going to use kind of that inference process in this paper. And then I can cite the passage by including the page number in parentheses after the quote, paraphrase, or summarize passage. So you should be able to know how to cite material from the passage. So this is just a super quick review, again, of the 3 levels of reading that we did 2 weeks ago, and that if you missed that Class Connect, it's really important that you do it. And then there's also a quiz that you need to complete in response to that lesson we did. But real quickly, so think about when say you choose Night for your paragraph, you're going to be focusing on, in some parts of your essay, you're going to be focusing on just what's the action, who said what's Eliezer going through in his life? What is this book kind of about? Where did he go? And without giving a huge summary, you would give kind of a brief summary, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you're also going to include inferences that you're making about Night, okay? And that's why we did this exercise 2 weeks ago. You're going to be guessing using clues in the text to help you understand what's really happening at a deeper level. And that has to do with the theme. Whenever you're talking about the theme, like, I think the author is really trying to show us this about society. Well, you just dipped into the inferential level. And these are, again, questions that you might answer. Well, why did he say this? Or what does she really seem to want? Are there symbols in this story or poem or essay that I should be paying attention to, and I could explain what those symbols might mean? And then how do I know that is you point back to the text. You point back to what's happening literally to prove that your inferential guess is correct. Okay? And then, yeah, no problem, Lisa. And then you're going to make some evaluative statements about, well, how do you feel about this story, or how do you feel about the way the author is conveying the story? And this happens more in the concluding sentence or two of your paragraph. So this is just a quick diagram of showing you that you have the theme, it's central to the story that you're reading or have read, but all the parts of it, all the elements, they tie directly into the theme. So when you're talking about where and when and the social conditions, those are all connected to what the author's trying to say about that particular time in history or about that particular social issue. So you might want to focus on setting and how the setting helps you understand the theme. The characters that an author chooses, parts of them also help show us the theme. So things that your main character thinks about or experiences or does, they are showing us how that theme plays out and how it can impact people. There's 4 types of conflict. Man versus man is when he's facing, there's man versus self is the internal one, right? When he's having an internal conflict. And then the 3 external ones are if a man is in conflict with another man, or a man is trying to survive nature, he got lost in the woods, or there's a snowstorm, something, he's down on the ocean and the boat is having issues. That's man versus nature. It's survival type stories, right? And then man versus supernatural, that is a whole big gamut of anything that's kind of outside this kind of natural realm, that can range a lot of different things. Man versus self conflict can happen at the same time as any one of these 3, right? There's usually a really good story is going to have an internal conflict and an external conflict. And both of those can also help us see the theme. So think about what your character is fighting against or the goal that they're trying to accomplish, and then also what's happening inside of them as they're doing this. And you can talk about both of those elements as you relate them to the theme. And then literary devices is any kind of other things that, it could be the imagery that the author's using. Symbolism is, again, very common, but there might be other things, tools that they're using that kind of really helped you understand that the theme, what the theme is in the story. Okay, so you're going to be tying this all together in your essay. I'm not going to do that one. Okay, so I file shared at the beginning, but I'm going to do it for the sake of those watching the recording and anyone else who missed the document. Now, you can also get this document in the literary analysis unit, but I'm going to do it here just for your convenience. It's English 206B literary analysis. And go ahead and grab that. I'm going to also share it so that we're going to look at it together. Where is it? Alrighty. Can you guys see that? Trying to scooch things over here. All right. Yeah, okay, thank you. I didn't want to move on unless people could see it. So the top chart is just those learning objectives that are telling you what you should be able to, the learning that you're demonstrating by the time you're done with this essay, okay? And these are the state standards on the left that go with the I can statements. And then I would encourage you on your own time to watch this little video. It's a YouTube video about how to write a literary analysis. And then it says to choose a literary work that was covered in this course, but again, I'm making an allowance that it doesn't have to be any one of these, okay? It can be anything out of the literature book in case you came in late. So it's recommended that you do these because these were the ones covered, but it can be one out of the literary book, the literature book, and that again is found in course materials. You're going to do the pre-write chart, okay, and it's not graded, but it's highly recommended that you do the chart so that you have the paragraph all laid down, especially if you struggle with writing essays, okay? You're going to do the pre-write chart, fill out the chart, and then you're going to use the material in the far right column of the chart and just put it in full sentences in one paragraph where you indent the first line. It's all one paragraph. You're going to check, edit, and revise, and then you're going to submit it. So let's look at that chart. This is very, very step by step. It's like following a recipe to cook something, okay? Over on the left, it's just telling you which sentence you're working on and which level of reading you're really addressing. And then the middle is just telling you why you're writing the sentence, okay? And then over on the right is you can make notes or write complete. You can either do phrases, words, or complete sentences, whatever works best for you. If you want to write the whole essay over here in each one of these boxes and then copy and paste them all into one paragraph, that's great. That works for me. So let's just start here. The sentence number one, when you're only writing a one paragraph essay, sentence one is the thesis statement. So it's probably the most important sentence of your whole paragraph. And you need to include the story title, you need to include who wrote it, and then you need to include what is the story really about, okay? And so, for example, I would say Harrison Bergeron, written by Kirk Von Gut, I think that's how you spell it, is a speculative short story that conveys the idea that equality can be taken too far. Okay, and so, and if you've read that story, again, it's all about, I don't know, 40 years in the future. I can't remember what year it was, the introduction. And they've tried to make society equal, but they've done it to the detriment of individuals. So if someone's strong, they have to wear these heavy lead sandbags so that they're made weaker. If they're smart, they have to wear these little earpieces that make loud noises in their ears so they can't think as well as everyone else. And it's about the society, about just dumbing down everyone so they're all equal. And so that's why I chose this theme, is that they're trying to give this idea that maybe equality can be like taken too far. Okay, so that's my theme statement, and I included the title and I included the author's name. Okay, so I could copy and paste this over to my first sentence. I would make sure that I would write out Bergeron. I just did that for note's sake. I'm done with sentence one. Sentence two is again at the literal level. You want to then just briefly introduce your main characters. we've got Mr. Bergeron, and we've got Mrs. Bergeron, and we've got Harrison Bergeron. I might even introduce the handicapper, they call her General, real quickly. And then I would just, couple sentences of summary. Be very, very careful that you don't just retell the story and then your essay's done. And I've had students do that where they do this okay, and then they get caught up in just retelling me the story. And they forget that this is a literary analysis project where you're actually going to break the story down further. So your summary is only like 2 or 3 sentences, maybe 4. And then this is sentence 4 or 5. I mean, these are not exact, but then you're going to get into how the different parts of the story tie back to that theme. So this one is introduce and describe one element that you see. And remember, those are, our choices are, oh, are they not on here? Okay, I need to fix this. So the element choices are, who remembers what they are? What are some of the story elements? Back on that chart that had the arrows pointing to theme. This is like a little review pop quiz, if you know. Yeah, there we go. Conflict. Okay. You might choose conflict to talk about. You might choose, what else? What were some of the other squares on that board? Character, yeah. How the characters are developed. I could type. Okay, good. Setting. Literary devices. Okay, so you're going to choose one of these, and you're going to just point it out, right? Introduce and describe one element. So the conflict, the main conflict is man versus society. Harrison Bergeron has been taken into custody because he refuses to wear the burdens that have been put on him, okay? And then I'm going to explain why that helps me with the conflict. So Harrison's conflict shows that equality being taken too far can damage, okay? And then I can't just leave it at that, can I? Come on, get that and out of there. I need an example from the story, okay? An actual quote, page number. Okay, and that's what my citation looks like. I'd have a quote in parentheses, and then I'd have the page number, a quote in quotations, and then I'd have the page number in parentheses. And so you want to be using, you want to be proving it by having that example. I can prove my inference by using an example right out of the story. Now I'm ready to move on to the second. So then I come back to this list. I already used conflict. And so setting would be a really good one for this story because the setting is a dystopian society where where they're trying to make everyone equal. Now, already, I'm thinking that I should have chosen setting first because that would kind of lay the groundwork better than conflict. So when I go, I don't have to do it on the chart, but if I were writing this essay, I actually would move setting to my first discussion and then do this, do the conflict. Does that make sense? That if I were actually writing this, I'd go, that's going to be my number one, and that's going to come second in my paragraph. So even as you're writing this out, use this chart to help you plan your paragraph. And then you're going to just repeat that explanation with your textual support. And then your last sentence, whatever that is, it could end up being sentence 9 or 10, depending on how much you write up here. That's that evaluative level that we talked about, is like, how did you respond to the story? What is your takeaway about it? Come back to the theme. How would you respond to this idea that equality can be taken too far? If that were happening to you, how would you feel? Okay, and that's your last sentence, that's how you wrap it up. Any questions about this assignment? Now down here is just kind of a thing to think about. Go through the chart, and you can certainly mark this on here about how are you feeling about each one of these. Do you feel like you understand how to write a theme statement? Okay. Do you feel like your theme is global? It's kind of a check off to also make sure you did the assignment correctly. If you know that you know how to do these, then you've met the learning goals. Okay. So again, on your chart right now, I would highly recommend that you add this. If you have this document open, add these items so that you remember that those are the elements that we're really talking about. And you want to cover 2 in your essay, only 2. You don't have to do 3 or 4. You're only choosing 2 of those. All right? Again, I just want to make sure that you do not just fall into the summary pitfall that so many students do, where they just summarize what happened and they forget that analysis part. They forget to talk about 2 literary elements such as character and setting, or conflict and symbolism. So make sure that you are meeting this assignment requirement, because you won't earn full credit if you just offer me a summarization of your story. All right? Okay, so what I'd like for you to do is, before you leave today, put in chat, and you can do it privately or publicly, which story or work. Now, they're not all stories. Letters from Birmingham Jail, written by Martin Luther King Jr., is not a story, it's a letter, and you can analyze it as well. You can analyze it based on, the tools, rhetorical tools he used. It'd probably be a little more advanced, but if that's who you are, then I say go for it. Before you leave today, put in chat which story are you thinking of analyze? Now, it may mean that you have to go open your literature book and look at the titles, and if you can find a story that interests you or you've read it before, then go for it. Okay, good. Thanks, Olivia. So a poem in the literature book or of night. And yes, you can do poems. You can analyze them the same way that you analyze stories. Works the exact same way. Awesome. So Olivia, you are free to go.